Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Barbie. Barbie is definitely the movie event of the year. It's breaking all sorts of records, all sorts of stuff like that. And I think justifiably, because this is a very fun movie. It's definitely like weird, strange, frantic, almost feeling like an animated movie script most of the time, and made by someone who clearly both likes Barbie but also understands the complications of it. Very few people nowadays can direct something and both like what they're directing and also deconstruct and criticize it. Almost something like The Last Jedi or something. I think Greta Gerwig is able to do that kind of flawlessly, but almost in a way that makes everyone come together on this and laugh at everything that's going on. It's both sort of very like blatant and on the surface, but there's a lot going on underneath, all being subversive. There's a lot of tones in this. It all actually sort of works if you understand the style they're working in. I've noticed a lot of critics don't watch a lot of cartoons, and it's become very evident by reading a lot of these reviews. Not counting all the sexist ones. Those don't really count as opinions. It's just, someone stubbing their toe and being reactionary, I guess. I had a really good time with this movie. It is interesting seeing a director like Greta Gerwig, who started as someone from Mumblecore, probably the most successful person from Mumblecore, I'm pretty sure. The film she wrote with Noah Baumbach had, more of a smaller feel vibe. And her first film, Lady Bird, sort of reminded you of those two. But Little Women and this are completely different styles to an aggressive degree almost. Like they're Lady Bird, the three films she's directed, I guess there's another one, but the three films in this context, the three big films she's directed, This Little Woman and Lady Bird, all are very different movies, but she seems to understand the genre and the context of what she's working on better than most directors can. This all feels like Greta Gerwig, but they also feel like their own movies, and that she's able to go into these different kind of films so perfectly and understand each of these. Like Little Woman understands the story of Little Woman very well. Barbie understands exactly the kind of film it's going to be, as crazy as it is. Lady Bird as well understands how to be a coming of age movie. So she is very comfortable in terms of, genre, understanding what that genre represents and what that means in ways that I don't think I've seen any other major director who kind of, has the few that they stick to. I don't exactly know what she'll do next. I mean, I guess I know because of what's been announced, but I don't 100% know what I guess her filmography is going to be, but I'm deeply very curious about it, especially after this very fun movie that comes after her, very serious, kind of almost literary Little Women adaptation that was almost made to be watched in conversation with other Little Women adaptations. But Barbie is just a really, really fun, good time, while also not ignoring various kind of like feminist ideas that everyone has claimed Barbie doesn't really deal with or simplifies or commodifies, which it still does, but it seems to manage to criticize them while also sort of loving the idea of Barbie at the same time, which I think is pretty, remarkable how fun it can do, essentially, a very critical, odd essay on Barbie while, still having Ryan Gosling's Ken in there making you laugh. Barbie is in Barbie land. She's having a great time. They believe that Barbie's started feminism or something, and that all women's lives are a whole lot better in Barbie land, and they're having a great time, and then it's always wonderful. They're always having dances, everyone's saying hi Barbie, and then Barbie one day says in the middle of her dance, "You guys ever thought about death?" And then she's having all these like dark thoughts, and she has cellulite, and so she has to leave Barbie land, and Ken goes with her because he doesn't have anything else to do, and she goes and tries to figure out the girl who's playing with her and her dark thoughts to sort of help her and understand what's going on. And then as she goes, Ryan Gosling understands about the patriarchy, like literally they say that in the movie. He comes back to Barbie land and tells all the other guys about the patriarchy, while she is trying to understand the girl who had all these dark thoughts and understand more about how women are actually viewed in the real world and not just in Barbie land. First off, I think I've just mentioned Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling is very great in this movie. It's probably one of his better performances. If you ever liked him on SNL, and he's really good on SNL actually, anytime he hosts, this is the movie for you. He is absolutely hilarious and so much fun to watch. I don't know why he hasn't been in more comedies over the years. I know he does like dramas, and has like good range as an actor, but he's really like kind of the standout, like one of the few movie star performances I've seen this year where when he's not on screen, even though Margot Robbie does a great job, I still think when he comes back on screen, you were like, oh, I was missing him. Like, where's Poochie? Poochie's on the screen. That's all I'm thinking about. And much like Ryan Gosling, Margot Robbie, of course, also, I think doing a lead like this, you're kind of the center point of the whole movie. And in some ways, that is as odd as this is to sound from that she's playing Barbie in Barbie movie, is sort of the less glamorous role. But you have to have that performance, and without that performance, this movie would not work at all. And I think she is so good at playing like both the radiance of this character, but also like her childlike wonder, and also I think like a cartoon character. I think they both play them like that. But when she's in the real world and playing off of everyone, like the right tone, how you can tell she's having fun, how she's kind of communicating in this kind of like childlike, doll-like way. But also like selling it and wanting you to follow her, as well as like there's plenty of great performances from Michael Cera to Simu Liu to America Ferrera. She gives a great speech and all that. A ton of cameos from everyone, from John Cena to Emerald Fennell to Kate McKinnon to there's like Issa Rae. There's like too many people in this movie. I'm sure I'm going to leave somebody out, to the new Doctor Who guy whose name I keep forgetting. Just so many great performances in this. But what this really reminds me of is two things actually. Is early Simpsons and the Muppet movie. And I think because it has such a fast and loose view of reality, if you really start thinking about like how this all works, I think you need to understand there's a difference between media and how things are sometimes literal and non-literal. And I think you need to like chill the fuck out. It's like not everything has to connect and make sense. Like that's like, I understand that's like a humanity thing, but that's how a lot of people view movies about that. But I don't think this is meant to do that, and I think that's a misinterpretation. Whereas like both Muppets and The Simpsons often do things that are nonsensical for the point of the bit or the point of the story, and you just sort of go with it. And if you're willing to, I think, watch more animation probably, you would get that that's what this movie is trying to do. And it's also one of the few times where I see a cameo of someone and I'm actually like, oh, cool, and it fits very well, and it's perfect, much like in the Muppet movie. They have a lot of cameos for cameo's sake, but like they all have sort of a point, and the performance really works, and you're never like, what was the point of that? And in an age where I see tons of amazing cameos in tons of movies now, I thought it worked really well, but also the quick writing did remind me of early Simpsons. I think a lot of quick joke writing, like you can have the Tina Fey style, which is almost feels like just throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall sometimes. Whereas I think the early Simpsons, like, yes, someone would make like a weird joke or something like that, but as a point of setting up characters, setting up mood, using, like, even in Looney Tunes, you have like a bit of an excuse to make this joke, so let's just like do it. It's sort of all tied in together, and I think a lot of this, like, there isn't a joke that's just there for the joke's sake. Like everything from like what they're talking about with the patriarchy, with Ken and the horses, with Barbie explaining, you know, just going like, hi Barbie, and stuff like that is all connected within it. And I think most, like, the thing why I compare this animation, this is co-written by Noah Baumbach, who wrote the goofiest of the Madagascar films, Madagascar 3. He's the only credit in terms of creatively that makes any sense that this movie is the way it is to me, because Greta Gerwig's never really made a thing like this before. I'm not trying to take credit away from her. I actually think she brought this energy to it, and you can tell that if you've seen interviews with her or her writing style. But this kind of manic kind of animation, like almost like Bugs Bunny kind of energy, you don't see a lot, and you don't see a lot of people who do it well. I'd say like this and the new Looney Tunes is like about it in modern culture. I wish more people would, because it is a very fine-tuned, like, you really have to know what you're doing and really plan things out to get it work as well. But everything from like the Lizzo song at the beginning, which that feels very Simpsons, a little fun, like, you know, hi Barbie, and you have these like various different like sight gags with all the different Barbies, or you know, them driving to the real world, like wearing the roller skates, doing, you know, having a little, the Ken song, which is epic and amazing, and like I like that the two biggest movies of the year have silly songs from their cast members, is amazing. I hope we hear them both at the Oscars. Yes, it reminds you a lot of the Lego movie. It's probably of the product now movie pipeline. This is no Playmobil, obviously. I think both this and Lego movie are both very critical of what they're making the movie of, but also understand there's a glory in it. And I think that's like probably the only way you can make a movie based on a product. Yeah, it feels weird that we're making movies based on, you know, a doll or a block or a video game or a this or a that. But I almost feel like this is all how cinema is like when cinema started, movies weren't the primary thing. It was like theater. So you watch silent films, they have more to do with theater. And then obviously the people who made movies grew up watching movies, and it was influenced by that, or watching television, or playing video games, or reading comic books, or reading this kind of certain literature, or radio dramas. And they all mix in together to what mainstream movies or movies in general are. You know, they'll watch foreign films, they'll watch anime, they'll watch this and that. And you can tell that all throughout what's going on currently in modern cinema. And of course, since we've picked and choose our influences from all these different works of art, and all, everything from modern painting to abstraction to surrealism to anything you can think of, I've seen in a movie that's well regarded and talked about, and so forth and so on. It makes complete sense that someone is going to take something like a Barbie or a Lego and do that exact same thing that people have been doing since the entire history of cinema. Although I also understand it is for a company to have a really good year in terms of financials, because more people will buy Barbie stuff. But in the same point, it is connected to the history of the cinematic art too, so that's neat. It doesn't demote what I just said. But look, I understand that, but just how you think Star Wars is art, and it is, and Marvel is art, Barbie is also art. What the kind of art this is maybe not the kind of art that we are used to for most people. But I think if you are not able to appreciate it, I don't think you really actually understand this kind of humor and this kind of writing, and I think it excels in that. I like that this, people keep saying this movie's like a cult classic. I mean, it isn't. If you make like $200 million in a weekend, you don't get to be a cult classic. I'm sorry. That's not how it works. You have to be like underappreciated. And I think this film could use less appreciation almost. Like, it's a little insane. But it has that kind of energy. And I think most kind of like different kind of comedies, I looked at this from like when I used to review the Road Pictures with Bing Crosby and Bob Hope. Those felt like very crazy. Like, how could they get away with this kind of movies? And you saw that with you saw it with Airplane, you saw it with Deadpool even recently. And I'm sure when they make 3 Barbie movies, we'll not think this is as crazy anymore, because you can't keep up that kind of tone in comedy. But as of this moment right now, this feels great. And there's so much in here. I'm actually excited to watch this again. My wife's super into this movie, so I feel like I am going to watch this again. I'm very much excited to watch this again, because there is a lot in there, much like older Simpsons episodes, and suddenly I get a reference I didn't notice before. And there is a lot in here. It's pretty wild how much references, not just to other Barbies, but cameos to this and to that. There was a pavement joke. There's a Godfather joke. This is an exuberantly fun, wonderful movie. I think it is probably one of the best mainstream blockbusters this year. And also, much like with Spider-Verse, able to use that IP both creatively and socially. This film deals with feminism and the feminist ideas with Barbie, and if Barbie was in the real world, what would she have to see, and how women are viewed, or something like that. I think it is an ultimate idea of a fish out of water story if you really believe your feminism is doing good and everything is working out and everything, and then confronted with the real world, which is actually very harsh. This part where the real world is I feel accepted and really seen. She's I don't feel violence at all. And she's oh, I very much feel the threat of violence right now. And that's those parts actually remind me very much of the Brady Bunch, but almost if the Brady Bunch was actually sort of critical of the Brady Bunch, which it sort of isn't. It's fun and it's haha, but this is critical of Barbie, while also noting the idea of Barbie within the larger context of the world. I think this is a pretty great movie. I think it's going to be one of the movies this year that when we talk about 2023 with film, it's going to be one of the movies you think of first, and rightfully so. It's completely original, completely different, and in a summer full of sequels, and it's so many big sequels and long franchises, finally hitting this bigger thing and stuff, and all of them being 2.5 hours and all this stuff. This movie feels so opposed to sort of everything. It feels kind of a celebration of both movies and feminism and Barbie, and just having a good time at the movies. That it's I don't know, it's pretty cool that this film was able to do everything it did. It definitely has the most fun energy while also taking on bigger ideas. It felt like something very different that we very much needed. It feels sort of unreal, but is in actuality what this movie is, and I think what this movie is pretty fucking cool. So if you have seen Barbie and you would like to talk about it, then comment below. in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.